Board. There it is. Okay, so first and foremost today, I would like to just start with introductions. So my name is Paige Sharp, and I'm the Director of Communications here at Serve Washington. If you could answer the prompts in the chat box so we can all get to know one another and where y'all are located, that would be really great. We also have my colleague and our resident Washington State Service Awards historical expert here to guide us on anything that I don't happen to know or discuss today. So Denise, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Paige. I'm Denise Burns, and I'm the administrative lead at Serve Washington and your primary point of contact for all things Volunteer Service Awards related. Thank you for joining us. Back to you, Paige.
Great, thank you. And next slide. Okay, so today we will do a brief overview of Serve Washington and our history with the Washington State Service Awards. We'll be spending most of our time, though, reviewing the timeline and how to nominate someone for this award as well. So for those of you who may be unfamiliar with us here at Serve Washington, we are charged with providing the leadership and vision alongside local volunteer organizations, civic and community groups, and units of government to make service a part of the lives of all Washingtonians. We were created in 1994 and have a 20-member governor-appointed commissioner or commission team to help guide Serve Washington's work. Our programs include AmeriCorps, CERT, the statewide volunteer website with Get Connected, and Washington Climate Corps Network. And the reason we are here today, we implemented our state volunteer recognition initiative, which was implemented in 2005. Next slide. Thank you. The Washington State Volunteer Service Awards seek to honor the many acts of kindness individuals, families, and service groups perform in our communities across the state of Washington. They were formerly known as the Governor's Volunteer Service Awards, and ceremonies were held exclusively on the Washington State Capitol campus in Olympia. Though after discussion with commissioners, staff, and community stakeholders, we decided to make participation more equitable and accessible by removing barriers for award recipients, such as time and costs associated with travel, especially the further east you were. So by participating in a local and regional recognition activities, honoring each recipient is something we have dedicated ourselves to do going forward. Last year in 2023, we relaunched the Volunteer Recognition Program as the Washington State Volunteer Service Awards. And Serve Washington believes that volunteer recognition should be accessible to everyone, regardless of location or financial situation. This annual event gives Serve Washington a chance to celebrate the incredible impact volunteers make in communities across our state while inspiring others to serve. So, why is it important to recognize volunteers in our communities? Well, we believe all types of service, both formal and non-formal. Let us not forget the value of non-formal channels, such as helping a neighbor who is homebound, or doing their shopping, or mowing their lawn, babysitting a neighbor's child without payment, or coaching a sports team. Strengthens our state and our fundamental and are fundamental to engaged and resilient communities while also building and supporting service leaders. Volunteer recognition not only increases awareness of volunteer opportunities in regions across our great state, but it also educates community members about the needs in their own area. And finally, for us personally at Serve Washington, volunteer recognition is part of our mission and directive under the governor. We are now selecting awardees from 9 separate regions across the state. This is because we found from community members that selecting and awarding people in the communities they serve would be more meaningful and inclusive. We have chosen these regions to align with what is used by the Nonprofits Association of Washington and 501 Commons. We work with the nominators and local partners to determine the best way to honor honorees in their community or region. This allows us to award more people throughout the state and recognize all the different service being completed and expand nominations from outside the Puget Sound region that has historically benefited most from this award. Okay, so we will be accepting nominations through November 26th, while our review committee, made up of community members from each region and commissioner community members, review submissions through December 17th. Awardees will be selected on December 18th, and from then on, Serve Washington will be in communication with the nominator to plan a recognition of efforts for each region. Serve Washington will then publicly announce those winners for National Volunteer Month and make special mention through National Volunteer Week. The recognition efforts will take place at convenient times for the nominator and the awardee, even if that happens to be outside of the National Volunteer Month or week. Okay. Outlined here, you can find our nomination process and the guidelines that we provide to anyone interested in our website. Denise, would you please put the nomination guidelines from our website in the chat when you have a minute to do so? The link that Denise will share with us in a minute will provide guidance on choosing a nominee, how to best complete the form, and what to expect post-nomination. If you find that you need to reference this information after this meeting, though, you can also find this information using the banner on our website that will link to that area as well, or you can also go onto our website and follow the tabs over to the volunteer section of our work. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. You can find more information at these links and a link to the nomination form if you believe you are ready to submit. Remember, as a nominator, you are the storyteller, though. We want to hear from hear all the great service being performed by volunteers in your community. Because we are looking for some specifics as it relates to submissions, we wanted to provide some information on drafting a good nomination and some things to keep in mind before you hit that submit button on the form. This guidance will be, excuse me, going to be provided by my lovely colleague, Rachel. But unfortunately, Rachel wasn't able to make it in with us, but she has a long history in communication work and is very skilled in that friendly storytelling while also working within certain constraints that we have here for um, our work with the Washington State Volunteer Service Awards. So we tapped into that and she luckily provided us with some notes. So I will be sharing the information that she has provided for us for the second half of the presentation. And we'll be speaking to that on her behalf. Okay, so she's also a lot funnier than I am. So I hope these jokes land as she intended. But now that you know a little bit more about Serve Washington and the Washington State Volunteer Service Awards, we wanted to give you some tools to help you make your nomination the best it can be. The nomination guidelines state that the word limit is 500 words. Or, as our friend Count Von Count would say, 500 words. But joking aside, word limits can be a challenge. I'm sure you could all come up with an infinite amount of ways to describe the awesome things your nominees are doing to help in their communities. And as nominators, you know your nominees and their community very well, but you have to keep in mind that the person who reviews your nomination, maybe me, is not going to know, not going to be familiar with them. So it's up to you to help the evaluator become familiar with the nominee through your nomination. Over the next few slides, we've taken some examples of previously submitted nominations. Names and locations have been changed, though, so no worries about that, to show you what some of the most common mistakes our evaluators have run into and told us make a nomination really hard to understand and evaluate. The point of including these as part of your session today isn't to tell you what to put in your nomination, but how you can avoid some of these mistakes to truly make your words count. So we're going to show you you 3 sample mistakes and how to avoid them before you submit your nomination. Okay, so mistake number one is using too many unnecessary words. So for example, in every community, there are select individuals who emerge as pillars of strength, leadership, and unwavering dedication to their fellow citizens. In the city of Metropolis, one such individual stands out: Superman. It is, it is with fervent conviction that I put forward his name for the Washington State Service Award, an accolade he's not only deserves, but embodies in every facet of his life. Oh my goodness. So that was 73 words right there. And that's nearly 13% of the nomination space used just to say, essentially, I'm submitting a nomination. So although we do love to hear how passionate everyone is about their nominee and really wanting to educate people on how wonderful they are, this is just one thing that you would like to avoid. But how do you do that? This is something I trip over, and Rachel is so skilled at. And so with that, how we would avoid it is to pay attention to what is being asked for in the nomination form and go straight into what it's asking for. The nomination form has fill-in fields to put your name as the nominator. Same is true for things like what the region and the nomination falls under, like individual or group. That doesn't count towards your 500 word limit. It's just there to help us sort through the many nominations we will get. You don't have to include it in any of the other sections, which I am going to point out some of those in the graphic on this slide. The nomination form will have 4 sections where you'll have to put in a narrative, which are just essay portions. And that's where your 500 word count will apply, 500 words total. So our first section would be accomplishments. Quantitative data is really helpful here. The volunteer served 100 meals to people experiencing food insecurity, for example, or qualitative, which are anecdotal stories or testimony from yourself or community members. The section after that would be impact, and this is to show how their service affects others or the cause and effect. For example, you can say, because of the outreach efforts of the animal shelter volunteer, we've seen adoptions go up tenfold. The next section would be commitment to volunteerism. Perhaps your nominee overcame challenges to volunteer or maybe took on more responsibility. This is a space to show that. And then lastly, we have JEDI, or Justice, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. If your nominee's volunteer role encompasses any of those values, that's where you would show it. And however you split up your words in this section, whether it's equal at 125 each or some other combination, remember it's 500 words for the whole thing. Anything more will not be seen by the evaluator. So you don't want to waste any of those words on things that's already a spot that's there's already a spot for or don't need to be there. So pro tip, we highly recommend using a word processing program. This really in particular helps me with word count first. So make sure you don't exceed length requirements and your submission fields how you want it to look. Once you submit, you can't go back and make changes. So just be aware of that. I can't remember if this is something you're alerted of in the form at the moment, but using a Word document like that is really helpful to get that word count so you don't go and share too much and then all your work is lost as well if it only gives us 500 words. So just be cognizant of that. All right, next slide, please. Okay, mistake number 2 is telling instead of showing. When I described the nomination sections, I'll let you notice I use the word show instead of tell. Telling is when you use a lot of words to tell us something, but you're really not telling us anything, like this example here. Superman has unequivocally made volunteering a part of his everyday life. He does not do it for the accolades, it's simply part of who he is. His contributions to various organizations across the city of Metropolis are felt within the communities he touches. Superman is an amazing human being. He is a lovely person to give back in the supportive way. One of the amazing things about Superman is his kind and giving heart. In this example, there's a lot of words describing a lot of good qualities, but they don't show us what Superman is volunteering for. And this is almost 100 words already, so it's a one-fifth of the word limit, and we don't have a clue of Superman's volunteer activities. Next slide. So the solution is show us why someone is awesome through their actions. Be specific. Show, don't tell. Like in this example, Superman thwarted a bank robbery, rescued two kittens, and got stuck on a tree, used his super strength to lift and fly 500 pounds of food to the Metropolis, food bank, and volunteered at the Metropolis hospital to read stories to all the patients in the children's ward. So can y'all see the difference between this slide and the last one? We've been given descriptors of exactly what's being done so we can see what's there without necessarily getting to have a really fun AI generated graphic with Superman saving a cat, but it helps. All right, next slide. All right, so we have another one, which is mistake number 3, and it's technical jargon and buzzwords. Uh, so this next sample nomination is by our good friend, Mr. Spock, and it states, Montgomery Scott is a highly trained Starfleet program manager for the Enterprise Fire and Rescue, EFR, volunteer program, managing more than 30 reserve fleet cadets at over 20 events, requiring an estimated time requirement of 2,000 hours. He is a COML and a COMT and runs the drone deployment program as a UAS pilot, a Zone 1 resource. He continues to work with EFR on all technical and high octane radio needs and implementation of specialized repairs for emergency mitigation. Okay, whew. There's another nomination. I almost ran out of breath reading it. No matter how many times I read it, I I am always just shocked with just how confused I am as I'm going through and what is actually being spoken about, especially with all those acronyms. Next slide. So even after Googling those acronyms, COML and COMT and UAS, I I couldn't figure out anything. I had no idea what it was talking about. Um, but I did try my best to translate what was being said in the nomination into plain talk for this example. But I'll warn you now, we're not asking our evaluators to do that or track down any missing information or contact you, I'm sorry, to explain technical terms. Nominations will be evaluated based on what is submitted because we do get quite a few that come in through our system. So please do your best to explain what the nominee does in layman's terms, like here. As a volunteer lead for the Enterprise Fire Response and Communications Program, Montgomery Scott trains more than 30 Starfleet cadets a year. He has led the cadets at 20 events in 2024, where they collectively served more than 2,000 hours. His service helping repair ship communications helped us prepare for a Klingon attack and save the lives of many crew members. So, a couple of tips. Avoid abbreviations and acronyms. Don't turn your nomination into an alphabet soup. We're so guilty of it here within government, so we get it. But if you can remember, try not to use the acronyms and use common words. If you must talk about a specialized role, something technical, pretend like you're explaining it to a 5-year-old. We will not be offended. It doesn't hurt to let anyone else read to help understand as well. That is always really helpful to see what words you are using that maybe aren't used in everyday language like it is in your space. So bottom line, just don't talk like Mr. Spock. Just clarify it, make it a little more friendly, and it doesn't need to be so, uh, yeah, alphabet soup. I'll go with that one. Okay. And finally, I wanted to just go over our community reviewers. I keep speaking to about them and what they'll be looking for, but who are they? And So our community reviewers are a small team of people selected throughout the state to review nominations with our commissioners and from those selected winners as a team. I'm sorry, and from there they select winners as a team. They spend no more than 8 hours on their own reviewing nominations for their region and then meet for 1 hour to discuss as a team the nominations and who should be selected as the winner for each region. This is all virtual, so anyone from Washington State is welcome to apply. If this is something you or someone you know is interested in participating, I highly encourage you to fill out the form that, if you don't mind, Denise will link in our chat. Just as a reminder, if you are confident that you will be nominating someone for these awards, you will not be able to participate as a community reviewer, but please share this opportunity with anyone you feel would be a really good fit or is looking for growth in that area. It is a volunteer opportunity, and we'd be happy to speak to anyone who may be interested. And those who are selected as community reviewer will be provided with all the details and guidance they may need for all of us to be successful. Okay, and that is it for our general information session here. So thank you all for letting me ramble at you for a little bit. But we did want to open up a space for general questions as well that all of y'all may be experiencing or just need some guidance on anything. That is also why we're here. So please feel free to come on off mute if you would like, or if you'd rather, you can also put it in the chat and we will be sure to answer those questions for you. And Denise, are there any questions that came through while I was rambling that we can help with?
There are Paige, and I would not call it rambling, but yes, well, there was a question on the application form, page 2, under definition, if it's helpful to share that our volunteer serves at other places too.
Hmm.
I'm not sure where in the definitions. I think there is a section that does ask in the criteria if there's additional volunteerism that you could
Mm.
add in that last element.
Yeah. I would say because these nominations are about volunteerism and what uh, these folks are doing throughout our state, I think it's helpful as long as you can get it within that 500 word limit because it illustrates not just what that person may be doing within your organization or your community, but what it's doing beyond uh, what they're doing beyond that one-on-one that you have with them. I think it really illustrates their commitment to service. So as long as it fits within the 500 word count, then I think that's a great idea. But if not, I would just, yeah, I would focus on what that volunteer is doing within your organization specifically. And then maybe we can connect if that person gets selected on expanding that during the award time frame as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else?
I don't see any other questions.
Okay. Well, I am happy to stay on for a little bit longer. I mean, however long we need. So, if there are no other questions, or if y'all are waiting, like if y'all would like to wait and speak with Denise and I separately, feel free to hang on. But um, if yeah, if we hit all the questions and you're ready to go, I'll give y'all back your 30 minutes. But and thank y'all so much for being here. We are looking forward to the nominations coming through.
Thank you so much. You guys have a great day.
Yeah,
Okay,
you too. Thank you.
thank you.